Welcome to Transition Protocol. Today is Saturday, the 25th of July. This is not a day that we usually meet, but everyone knows what is going on in the world. And what is going on in the world is a lot of potential military activity that could destabilize the entire Middle East, the entire West Asia theater, where US and Iran have been locked in battle for a long time, where the MOU has been nearly completely killed by actions of the United States. And I have with me my dear colleagues, Pepe Escobar and Larry Johnson, to discuss this
Yes.
and provide you the most recent updates that we have collected, which you will not see anywhere else. If you like what we do, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the like button. If you want these security briefs to be delivered inside your mailbox every week, go to Substack, become a paid member for a small fee of $5 a month. With that, Pepe, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Z. Thank you, Larry. I'll make a brief introduction, then I'll pass it over to Larry. Larry can explain to us the American situation on the verge of a possible totalen Krieg, total war. But first, I'll start with diplomacy Eurasia style. I'm sure many of you have seen that for the first time ever, President Trump uttered the words in sequence Eurasian axis. Trump never mentioned the word or concept Eurasia in public. This was the first time. And Eurasian axis. So this is what comes after the axis of evil of 2022. You all remember at the time was Iran, Iraq, North Korea. Eurasian axis, the way Trump frames it, is Iran, China, Russia, and North Korea, even though he didn't verbalize it. Who got this on his brain, his 5 second attention brain? Well, Larry can gives us his insider trading news on what goes on inside Trump's brain. But my bet is Eldridge Colby, the guy who actually redacted the national security strategy, because this is a way of putting all existential threats to the United States in an axis of evil 2002 style framework. It's absolutely fascinating. I'm considering writing a very long column talking about Eurasia, about the axis of evil, and about what the Americans still don't understand about this Eurasian axis, which is basically my field of work for the past 20 years at least. Alexander Dugin wrote a very, no, he didn't write. He gave an interview very detailed, and I read it on his Substack, where he's trying to explain what an Eurasian axis would be. And basically, this would be the weaponized BRICS framework. That's not what it would. That's not what it is, and what it would be. First of all, because BRICS is essentially a geoeconomic platform, and BRICS. When you go to BRICS summits, and when you talk to, for instance, the number one Russian Sherpa in BRICS, which Larry and I had the opportunity to meet in Moscow, Ryabkov. He would never mention BRICS in terms of a military alliance. And this is not how the Chinese see it or the Russians see it. Dugin's idea is that it should become a militarized alliance. It's not going to happen. It will have to be another mechanism. But the most important conceptual framework in this Eurasian axis is that this axis actually exists on a geopolitical level. And it's, let's say, the declination of how it exists is expressed by the strategic relationships between all these four players. All of them have strategic partnerships and they are interlocked. And the best example of how they interlock happened this week in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Foreign Ministers Summit in Kyrgyzstan. It was something absolutely fascinating to watch from the outside. Once again, I follow the SEO from the beginning. I'm sure many of you, our audience, many of you may not know that the SEO was born 3 months before 9/11. The SEO was born in June 2001. And at the time, it was Russia, China, and three Central Asian stands. It was called the Shanghai Five. And at the time, they were a counter terrorist and counter separatist organization. Nowadays, the SEO in 2026, as you could see once again this week in the meetings in Kyrgyzstan, is a geopolitical and geoeconomic organization, much more than a counter terrorist organization. Just to give an example of how important this meeting in Kyrgyzstan this week was, Arakshi was there, Sergei Lavrov was there, Wang Yi was there, and Ishaq Dar, the Pakistani foreign minister, were there. Not only they were on the same table discussing uh, indivisibility of security in the Eurasia space, which is something that for the Trump administration sounds like a concept for Mars or Venus. There were the bilaterals. So we have, for instance, bilaterals between Arakshi and Lavrov and Arakshi and Wang Yi. Not to mention, of course, Arakshi once again meeting with Ishaq Dar, but they are in contact practically every day, right? So they discussed not only this integration of Eurasia in geopolitical, geoeconomic terms, but not as a military alliance. The SEO always, in the minds of the Russians and the Chinese, no, if we do something that would be interpreted as an Asian NATO, it will be foolishly antagonizing the Americans. No, we are much more sophisticated than that. We organize and our back channels are much more important. And when we meet like these foreign minister meetings before the summit of the SEO is going to be in 1 or 2 months from now, it's to discuss the organization as a whole and especially our bilaterals, especially because we have, as members of the SEO, some very problematic members like India. India was in Kyrgyzstan as well, but India was almost like a sideshow compared to these four full members. North Korea was not there. It doesn't matter because North Korea and Russia and China, they talk intimately as well. Their strategic partnerships. And there's one particular that Larry sent me this just a few minutes ago. What Wang Yi said in terms of the Chinese role in terms of what's going on in West Asia. This is the Chinese way of being implicated in detail in everything that matters in terms of the Chinese Pakistani Iranian alignment in trying to find a solution without the empire going completely off the rails. So there is an alignment in terms of mediation. Tehran, Islamabad, Beijing. And of course, the Chinese at the same time, they are instructing the Pakistanis on, okay, you should, dribble this way, go this way, navigate this way. It's really the Odyssey, navigating between Scylla and Charybdis. Totally. I watched the Odyssey today and it's ringing in my mind so many aspects of it. So Wang Yi said that China will continue to act in line with its 4-point proposal on Middle East peace and stability, which is basically go back to the table and respect the MOU. Because one of the big players in the MOU in the background was China. China was coordinating with Pakistan all the time, the mediation with the Iranians and between them and the Americans. So they support, this is Wang Yi speaking, support mediation efforts by Pakistan and other parties. So this, when Wang Yi says that on the record, it's very, very important. The Chinese way. very subtle, sophisticated, but imprinting their mark. So, facilitate early resumption of dialogue and negotiations. So, this is China saying to the Americans indirectly in the SCO, go back to the table and respect the commitments that you made, to respect the MOU that you signed. Properly address issues related to the Strait of Hormuz. This is in the MOU, as we all know. It's one of the key points. And improve relations among neighbor countries. So this is a Chinese message to everybody in the GCC, because China has very good relations with all the GCC members. And China is not picky. They have relations with everybody in the GCC, and China imports energy from many GCC members, especially for oil from Saudi Arabia. Advance collective security among Gulf states. This is a Chinese way of saying, look, maybe you should reconsider your protective umbrella. And our friends here, with which we have a strategic partnership and is a member of the Belt and Road Initiative of Neo Silk Roads, Pakistan, may provide what you need. So, okay, so take this as an introduction in terms of the diplomatic front that matters across Eurasia, which is the SCO. They met this week in Kyrgyzstan. The key foreign ministers were there, and they were talking to each other, and they all converge. That's the most important point. Now, Larry gives us the highway to hell scenario now.
Yeah. So a lot of mixed signals coming out of the United States. If we judge it totally based on Donald Trump's rhetoric, not in the last 24 hours, but prior to that, there would be active, massive bombings taking place right now in Iran. There are not. There were reports that we had several Poseidon 8s, P-8s. Now these are aircraft that conducted intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, among other missions. The reason they're out there flying is because Iran blew up all the ground-based radars that were in Qatar, at Al Udeid Air Force Base, in Kuwait, at the various U.S. military army bases, in Bahrain at the 5th Fleet headquarters. All those radars are gone. So the United States is effectively blind. The only way to compensate for that is put up these aircraft like the P-8. So you saw that activity. We saw a lot of activity with the C-17s, which are cargo carrying. But they're also used to carry medical, people, casualties. So it very well could have been hauling casualties out of various, out of Kuwait, out of Jordan. So we got that on the one hand. On the other hand, then I'm in touch, and I'm not going to go into the details about the sources, but let me put it this way: there are activities that would be taking place at Central Command headquarters up at MacDill Air Force Base, which is just about 30-minute drive from where I am, and then the activities at what they call Air Force Central Command, AFCENT. Now, so Central Command sits overall, and then they have an Air Force branch, AFCENT, that used to be based at Al Udeid Air Force Base and operated out of something called the Combined Air Operations Center. In a military jargon, they call that the KAOC. Well, the KAOC ain't there anymore in Al Udeid because it was getting the hell blown out of it. They couldn't keep the people alive or safe. So the U.S. has now withdrawn the command headquarters for the Air Force Central Command, and is now based in Shaw Air Force Base in South Carolina. Now, if the United States is getting ready, today, to ramp up to carry out massive air operations, there should be an enormous amount of communication and coordination going back and forth between Central Command headquarters at MacDill Air Force Base and the KAOC at Shaw Air Force Base. All I can tell you is that's not happening at all. Not happening. So I had actually thought yesterday they would have launched the attack based upon some of the indicators, because all of the embassies were closing down. They're saying, get the hell out of Dodge. Israelis were hunkering, battening down the hatches. But then I forgot, and I failed to take this into account, blame me for being a bad analyst, that Trump was speaking at the White House Correspondents Association dinner. Well, he wasn't going to step all over his message by launching some massive bombing raid that could result in U.S. casualties. So that was postponed. But the other thing that we've seen over the course of the last 36 hours is the U.S. currency, in terms of the bond market, is in trouble. The oil market has gone crazy. Now there's outside intervention trying to tamp down the prices, but the underlying reality is there's a global shortage of diesel and jet fuel, and there's no quick solution for that at all. And then it's also affecting the stock market. So a combination of those may, in fact, be weighing upon Trump in terms of recognizing they cannot give him a guarantee that if we launch these strikes, it's going to wipe out Iran and it's going to give you full control of the Strait of Hormuz and Iran will surrender. General Kane, I think, to his credit, is reinforcing what Brad Cooper, the admiral at CENTCOM, is telling them, and they don't want to come out and disagree with him too forcefully, but they're just trying to tell him that what he believes might take place might not exactly be it. The other factor we've got to look at, because China is really, they're caught in a conundrum. But I think based upon what you just presented, Pepe, shows that they are coming down on the side of Iran. Now, here is their conundrum. On the one hand, because so much of their economy is based upon selling goods to the global south, they recognize that the shutdown of the Strait of Hormuz is a disaster for the global south. It's not just a disaster for the United States and Europe. So they want to get that open as quickly as possible. Now, to that extent, no doubt that Iran is more than willing to cooperate with China on that, that any ship that registers that says, hey, we're going to global south countries and we're sailing with China, Iran's going to let it through. That's not going to be a problem. But the problem is the United States blockade, the United States attacks. And as a result of that, you've got China wanting to get the Strait of Hormuz open, but it does not want to betray Iran's security. Then you've got China's defense pact, or Pakistan's defense pact with the Saudis. And that has the backing of China. But the Saudis, for whatever reason, and maybe it wasn't the Saudis, maybe it was the Israelis, I'm not sure. But that attack that took place over a week ago at Sana'a, on attacking the airport with the delegation that had attended the funeral ceremonies for Ali Khamenei, they were attacked upon returning. Yemen, the Ansar Allah responded. They attacked a couple of airfields in Saudi Arabia. Looked like the Saudis were going to let things go. Then the Houthis announced they were going to blockade Saudi shipments of oil going through the Strait, the Bab el-Mandab Strait, which I guess stands for Gate of Lamentation.
Gate of Lamentation.
Yeah, that's what a poetic name. Love that name.
Fantastic.
So they did that, and then yesterday the Saudis decided to strike Hodeidah, the port. Now the Saudis go, oh, but we didn't hurt any port facilities. We just blew up some peripheral stuff. Well, I'll put it in technical terms. The Houthis didn't give a shit about their explanation. Okay, the Houthis said, "You want to play? Let's play," and they hit Jinza. I think that's the name of it. The most modern oil refinery in the world, maybe. But it's right there with Saudi Aramco, and the Houthis blew the hell out of it. And it's estimated it's going to be at least 4 months before that thing's back up online. And that's a lot of fuel that's not getting produced or processed. Now, there were early reports that the Houthis also targeted Yanbu, which is there are two main oil terminals there, north and south. But it looks like they didn't. Because I think the Houthis are sitting back saying, all right, we've hit you now. Do you want to keep going? Because if you want to keep going, the next one to go is Yanbu. And Yanbu goes, then Saudi's got big, big problems. And so, we're looking right now. I'm not seeing much response yet from the Saudis, and they certainly I haven't seen any statements, but I may not have read the right sources, but I don't see any trash talking coming out of Riyadh or Jeddah.
At least not yet, Larry. You're
Yeah.
right. Yes.
So this puts, from I think China's standpoint is maybe working behind the scenes to try to get everybody to, calm down. Everybody get back in your corners because Saudi's only way out of this to stay intact and not be harmed is a diplomatic route and negotiations with Houthis. There is no military solution for them, which ironically is exactly the same position the United States finds itself in with respect to Iran.
Mr. Z, you want to add something, especially in terms of did the Pakistanis tell the Saudis once again stand down? And it's
Well,
on your best interest if you do.
from everything that I have heard, everything I have investigated, repeatedly because of the urgency of what is going on, Pakistan is mediating with Chinese blessings and, in fact, direction. Uh, a point that you have made, but I want to emphasize. Uh, Pakistan's name is out front, but really it is China's hand. Pakistan will do nothing. I mean, that is like zero, absolutely zero, without the blessing of China, without the direction of China, and without the support of China. So, from a standpoint of between what is going on in Saudi Arabia, between Saudi Arabia and Ansar Allah, I am informed that Pakistan is doing everything in its power, including telling Saudis that we are not going to go out and fight your fights with the Ansar Allah. So that's a big step for Pakistan to do. Now, couple of additional points I would like to add to everything that you people have said, which I totally support and I completely, endorse. Uh, the mood in Tehran, from what I've heard, has changed dramatically in the last couple of days. And everything that is seen by outside observers and corporate media and a lot of independent media is, from everything that I've heard, is performative diplomacy, performative, not real substance behind it. And the most important part of that is that China is actually suggesting this at the present time. The clear indication that I got from people I spoke with was that China wants the United States. I mean, obviously, we are talking only about Trump and his deranged mind, to understand that there is no military solution to this. There is no military solution, and they have to come back to the MOU, not renegotiate it. So that's a big shift as a result of what Mr. Trump has done, which is to act like Napoleon and keep bombing. And the result has just been the opposite. So that is
Well,
my yeah,
but
that's
this
my
is
understanding.
no, but this is the logical progression of the Iranian position, Mr. Z. They have not changed. They have not deviated from their position. And in
Not at
fact,
all.
since the last time that the Pakistanis were involved in some sort of mediation reaching the Americans, this was the message earlier this week from the Iranian delegation that went to Islamabad. We would go back to diplomacy, but the Americans have to fulfill their commitments that they signed in the MOU, and Trump vetoed. So we go back to the same point over and over again. Every time that he has an off ramp in front of him, he blows it up over
Exactly.
and over again.
Exactly.
Everybody knows that, and the Chinese also know that. And still, the Chinese insist, as Wang Yi insisted this week in Kyrgyzstan. What he said was basically to all the partners in the SCO, but to the world at large as well. The Chinese position is go back to the MOU because this is the only off ramp for. There's no plan B. Still, the Americans won't listen. Oh, the Trump administration won't listen, and of course, Trump himself won't listen. And we go back to the macho man of vociferations and threats. And I'm going to bomb you to smithereens and all that. It's becoming not only repetitive, but it doesn't. Nobody believes in it anymore. There's no impact. Okay, he can manipulate the markets for 24 hours. So what? He has to come up with extra vociferations. And the Iranians, even more important, they are ready. And in fact, once again, because they run the clock, they said, okay, you want to bomb us? All right. Do you know the response? You know the response. It's going to be much worse than last time. You want to risk it. You want to ruin your reputation even more. And because he has no strategy, it gets crazier and crazier. It's an inferno machine, really, an inferno machine. And there's no escape. And the only one who could escape is he, if he had a solid, uh, rational decision in front of him, which somebody would have to press on him. And there's nobody within his inner circle that will be able to press this to him in terms of the effects on his political life, his cronies, the American economy, the global economy, the oil market, the bonus market, everything.
Let me just provide a
Yes,
poetic
please,
image
Barry, please.
of this relationship between the Saudis and the Yemenis.
Yes.
Think of the Saudis as a big fat guy at a nudist camp running around naked, and he keeps trying to catch the porcupine. That's Yemen. There's no way the naked
No
guy
way.
does well with the porcupine. Okay, you learn, leave it alone, and that's what the Saudis have now got to learn. We'll see if they learned it, but and this is, and I wrote the other day about the nonsense of the United States trying to offer the Saudis a nuclear power plant, because in the last 30 years, the United States, last 26 years since the year 2000, United States has built a grand total of two nuclear power plants. And one of them was 30 years late and grossly over budget. And in that same time frame, I think the Russians have built something like 60, and the Chinese perhaps even more.
And counting. Yes.
Yeah, and the deal that Trump then, after the Saudis signed supposedly this mutual agreement with the Energy Secretary Chris Wright, is then Trump added on, yeah, and they've got to sign on to the Abraham Accord or else they don't get it. And so I'm sitting there saying, what's wrong with the Saudis? They can go to the Russians or the Chinese. They can get a nuclear power plant within 5 years easy, and it'll come ready to operate. It'll come with the nuclear fuel. They're not going to have to jump through any other hoops. They're not going to have to face any congressional scrutiny. So this is, I think this is really a critical time for the Saudi Arabia to figure out who the hell is it, and who are they really going to align themselves with? Because I think they are starting to see that being aligned with the United States is a costly, dangerous proposition.
But the problem, Larry, is that they are not sovereign actors, first of all. Most important, number one. Number two, they like to hedge all the time. Number three, all the decisions are centralized and taken by MBS. And MBS is always hedging. And he's under a lot of pressure. And he's afraid of the Americans. So you put this all together, no wonder they're like dazed cockroaches. And he knows that if he loses his, iron will and iron power on Saudi Arabia, there are over 100 Arab tribes ready to explode in every direction. They are only kept together because of his iron hand. It's House of Saudi is not a monolithic regime. On the contrary, you know. So this is a collection of warring tribes. If you just look at the history of Arabia, it's always been like that. So when these warring tribes see, the sovereign is not a sovereign anymore, he's just a puppet. Wow. Then we're going to have an internal explosion. So maybe this is where we're heading because the Ansar Allah Yemen armed forces, the real Yemen, which is in the northwest, west, almost all the way to the south before we reach to Aden. This is the real Yemen. They are just accelerating a process of disintegration of Saudi Arabia, and they will be the best to do it. They know the Saudis very, very well. In fact, they know the Arabian Peninsula as a whole very, very well. So this is maybe where we're going next. They're accelerating a process of disintegration, in fact.
Well, let me add a couple of additional points.
Sure.
This is from the perspective of Iran, Pakistan, and the United States. Trump keeps calling Asim Munir when he finds himself no exit. Asim Munir delivers an opportunity for Trump to get out of this mess by saying, "Okay, fine, Iran will be happy to talk to you, but can you start implementing the MOU right away?"
Implementing the MOU.
Yeah. Then he backs off, and this cycle has now repeated itself like 3 times over the last week, and now everybody in Pakistan, including China, I mean, I keep on saying China, is at the point where they say, "Well, I think we have played with this guy enough. Let him feel the heat a little bit." This is really the way things stand between Iran, Pakistan, and China as to Trump. So I would not be surprised if nothing happens in the next couple of days. I mean, maybe other than Trump bombing, he will continue bombing, and perhaps that will be all that he will do. And Iran is ready to retaliate, very, very ready.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like for now, Trump has, they backed off. They did 13 straight days. Yesterday, day 14, nothing. And Iran, for its part, has also stood down. I mean, they were still clobbering the bases in Kuwait and Bahrain yesterday, and the United States actually didn't respond to those. So we may be back at a hiatus and a move now to try to once again de-escalate, because that's Trump's only way out here. They are facing enormous economic headwinds and catastrophes. They've got to get the Strait of Hormuz back open, and even if it's open this week, it's going to be 4 to 6 months before we could have anything that could be called normal.
And if that happens, Larry and Pepe, if that happens, and Pakistan and China are counting on that happening, Iran is counting on that happening, the geopolitical map of that region will change completely, forever. Yeah. And that's going to be a tectonic shift.
We are already deep into it. This is already an ongoing process.
Yes.
So until a few months ago, everybody thought that the new map of Eurasia would start to be fundamentally altered with the result of the proxy war in Ukraine. No, it's going to be in West Asia. The remodelation and the possibility of indivisibility of security is going to be a new security pact starting in West Asia. They were discussing this in Kyrgyzstan. Of course, you don't have leaks because this is what they discuss. They discuss in that super inner table of the SCO. And of course, you don't have leaks about that. But obviously, this is what they're discussing because this is what the SCO wants. They want indivisibility of security for all the players, including the Central Asian stands, which are right in the middle, in the heart, real heartland of Eurasia. We don't know the Indian position because I haven't seen one single comma coming from India about the SCO meeting. But this is what the main players, Russia, China, Pakistan, and Iran in the SCO want.
Yeah.
And they
And
know
with
that
that,
they're heading towards it. This
yeah,
indivisibility of security and this new security pact, Eurasia wide, they are already, the process, this train has already left the station a while ago. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
with that, Larry and Pepe, with that, from my point of view, my vantage point of view, will be the emergence of China as the dominant player on the globe, particularly the south, uh, you know, the southern hemisphere, and the emergence of China, the emergence of Iran as a regional power center, and the disappearance of U.S. bases, and the humiliation of Mr. Trump, and unfortunately, America as a result of that. I mean, that is going to happen. It's a fait accompli. Just wait for this to present itself. I would say in the next 90 to 120 days.
Well, I
Maybe
think with
maybe longer, Mr. Zibi. This is a very long process. For instance, this process of unifying Eurasia started in the 2000s. It picked up speed in the 2010s, and it really picked up speed only in the 2020s. It's a very long process. So, because I have been following this in detail for the past 25 years or so, literally, I see the consolidation of this process between the 2030s and all the way to the 2040s. It's a very, very long historical. It's a new historical cycle, and these cycles they take time to consolidate. And to consolidate, that will imply that the American elites will have to admit that their presence in Eurasia now will be reduced to a minimum. For them, this is
Yes,
anathema, really.
agreed.
This is a
Well,
supreme taboo. And they prefer to do some sort of a Samsung option involving everybody than actually to admit that the free lunch starting in 1945 is over. And in the supercontinent that really matters. So this is, everything. Mackinder, Mayhem, Spikeman, Brzezinski, everything collapsed at the same moment. It's too much. It's too much. They're not psychologically prepared for that.
Well, do you want to put a final end to this conversation that we brought as an emergency update because of what is going on in the world, Larry?
Larry,
yeah,
go
no,
ahead.
no, I'll just say that what we're trying to let everybody know is that this situation still remains very dynamic. But despite Trump's belligerent, bombastic threats, underlying it is a growing recognition. They need to find an escape hatch, an escape exit, a route away from total war, a return to war, as we saw during the first 3-4 weeks of March. And it looks like that process is beginning to unfold, but we're going to keep you apprised of that here on Transition Protocol. I'll be back Monday afternoon with Dr. Z, and then Pepe will be back on Tuesday afternoon, East Coast time. And
The three of us on Wednesday.
and the three of us on Wednesday.
And we hope
So,
to hopefully bring you the news of this tragedy coming to an end. That is why we keep ourselves engaged, even though it's a weekend and we should be resting, but no rest for the wicked. So we have not repented enough,
yeah,
I suppose. Thank you very much for being our very very supportive audience. Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the like button if you want this brief to be delivered inside your mailbox, kindly go to Substack and become a paid member for a very small fee of $5 a month. Thank you very, very much. We will be back Monday.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye
Cheers.
bye.
Bye.